Stop trying to speak English. Seriously. Every time you force a conversation before your brain is ready, you are actively destroying your confidence. There is a silent 30-minute daily secret that builds perfect fluency while you sit completely still. Let me show you the quiet truth. What if I told you that almost everything you have been doing to learn English is actually pushing you further away from fluency? Think about it for a moment. You force yourself to memorize long, boring lists of vocabulary. You stare at confusing grammar rules until your head hurts. You push yourself into conversations before you are truly ready, only to feel your face turn red when you make a mistake or forget a basic word. What if I told you that this pain, this anxiety, and this constant frustration are completely unnecessary? What if the real secret to speaking English confidently does not require expensive courses, stressful tests, or even opening your mouth at all? What if the answer is simply sitting in absolute silence for just 30 minutes a day? Welcome to Glaze English. I am so glad you found your way here today. If you are truly ready to leave the old, painful ways of studying behind and discover a method that actually works, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel right now. Your support means everything to me, and it gives me the daily motivation to keep uncovering these secrets and creating these videos for you. I need you to promise me something. I need you to stay with me and watch this until the very last second, because what we are going to explore today will completely change the way you see this language forever. If you leave early, you will miss the exact mechanism that makes this work. But before we get to the solution, we have to honestly face the problem. I know exactly why you clicked on this video. I know that heavy sinking feeling in your chest when you desperately want to express a beautiful idea, but the English words just refuse to come out. I have seen that look of panic and defeat in the eyes of so many learners. You study for months. Sometimes you study for years. You spend your hard-earned money and your precious free time. Yet, you still feel completely stuck. You feel like you are standing at the bottom of a massive, impossible mountain. When you finally try to speak, a war starts in your mind. You scramble to translate from your native language. You worry about your accent. You panic about using the wrong past tense. You are terrified of sounding uneducated or silly. Because of this deep, paralyzing fear, a silent tragedy happens. You stop trying. You avoid the language altogether. You start to believe a terrible lie. You tell yourself that your brain is just not smart enough for English. As someone who is walking this path with you, I want to look you in the eye and tell you that is a lie. It is not your fault. The traditional education system is a trap. It forces you to perform before you are prepared. It throws you into the deep water before teaching you how to breathe. This is exactly why we need a quiet rebellion. We need a completely safe space where English cannot judge you, rush you, or embarrass you. This is the profound magic of the 30-minute daily reading habit. I am not talking about forcing yourself through heavy, boring textbooks. I am talking about stepping into a private, comfortable room in your mind. When you read, There is no teacher standing over you with a red pen. There is no native speaker waiting impatiently for you to finish your sentence. You can read as slowly as a snail. You can stop, take a deep breath, and read the same paragraph 5 times until it feels right. You finally take back the control. You must remove the anxiety before the real language acquisition can begin. And believe me, once you remove that pressure and embrace this silent habit, what happens inside your brain is nothing short of incredible. Once we strip away that crushing anxiety and step into this safe, quiet space, something truly extraordinary begins to happen deep inside your mind. I want to take you behind the curtain now, because understanding how your brain actually learns is the key to trusting this process. For a long time, I honestly believed that learning had to be painful. I thought that if my eyes were not burning and my head was not aching from a heavy textbook, I was simply not working hard enough. Society teaches us that struggle equals success, and we bring that toxic mindset into our language studies. But when it comes to language acquisition, that is a complete lie. The most powerful, permanent learning does not happen when you are stressed and exhausted. It happens quietly, smoothly, and almost invisibly in the background of your mind. Think about how we are usually taught to learn new vocabulary. Teachers hand us a long, boring list of disconnected words and tell us to memorize them for a big test on Friday. We force them into our short-term memory, we somehow pass the test, and by Monday morning, those words are completely gone. Why does this happen so often? It happens because our human brain absolutely hates random information. It actively rejects data that has no real-life meaning. But when you sit down to read a story or an interesting article, everything changes. A new word is no longer just a cold, dead collection of letters on a white page. It suddenly has a life. It has a context, an emotion, and a specific situation surrounding it. You see exactly how that word behaves when it is placed next to other words. You do not just memorize the word, you actually experience it. Your brain holds on to it tightly because it is tied to a character you care about or a concept that makes you deeply curious. This natural absorption is 1,000 times stronger than any vocabulary app you will ever use. We also have to talk honestly about the world we live in today. Our attention is constantly being stolen by flashing phone screens, quick text messages, and endless, noisy videos. Our minds are scattered and tired. Taking just 30 minutes a day to sit down with a single text is like giving your brain a deep, peaceful breath of fresh air. It forces you to train your focus, and inside that highly focused environment, your mind starts to accept English as normal. I know that at the beginning of your journey, English sentence structures can feel incredibly strange. The words seem to be in the wrong order compared to your native language. But as you read every single day, that uncomfortable feeling slowly melts away. Your brain stops fighting the foreign language and starts surrendering to its natural rhythm. This happens through the sheer magic of repetition. But I am not talking about the boring kind of repetition you find in a dusty classroom. When you read, you encounter the most common, vital English patterns again and again, hidden beautifully inside different sentences. You do not even realize you are reviewing them. Every time your eyes pass over these familiar structures, a tiny connection in your brain gets a little bit stronger and a little bit faster. You are secretly building a massive, unbreakable foundation of automatic understanding. You are not trying to study. You are just living inside the language for half an hour. And that quiet consistency is exactly what turns a struggling, frustrated student into a natural, confident speaker. Once your brain quietly builds that unbreakable foundation of automatic understanding, we finally arrive at the greatest myth in all of language learning. Almost every traditional teacher will tell you that if you want to speak fluently, you absolutely must force yourself to speak from the very first day. I completely disagree with this, and honestly, I think this advice is actually cruel. Imagine asking a friend to build a beautiful brick house, but you never give them any bricks. That is exactly what happens when you try to force a conversation before you have listened or read enough. You stand there, your heart beating fast, desperately trying to translate words from your native language into English, one agonizing word at a time. It is slow, it is painful, and it makes you feel like a failure. But you are not failing. You are simply trying to force output without ever giving yourself enough input. This is exactly why reading is your secret, ultimate weapon for speaking. Every single time you sit down with a page, you are quietly loading thousands of ready-to-use sentences into a massive storage room in your mind. You are packing away natural phrases and complete thoughts, not isolated, lonely words. Later, when you are in a real conversation with someone, a beautiful thing happens. You do not have to panic and try to build a sentence from nothing. Your brain simply reaches into that mental storage room and pulls out a complete, perfect phrase that you saw in a story last week. You bypass that terrible, awkward translation phase entirely because the English sentence is already waiting for you. But you might be wondering about pronunciation. How can staring at a silent page possibly help you sound better when you talk? It happens through the power of your inner voice. When you read silently, your mind is not completely quiet. You actually hear the words echoing inside your head. Because you are relaxed and taking your time in that safe space, this internal voice practices the rhythm and flow of English flawlessly. You are secretly tuning your ears to the natural melody of the language. When you finally open your mouth to speak out loud, your physical voice naturally tries to match that perfect inner melody you have already practiced thousands of times in silence. And then we must talk about the biggest fear we all share: grammar. So many of us carry deep trauma from school, remembering endless tables of verbs, red ink, and confusing rules that never seem to make sense. But think about how a little child learns their mother tongue. No mother hands her baby a heavy grammar textbook. The child just listens, observes, and absorbs the patterns naturally over time. Reading does exactly this for you as an adult. It is the kindest, friendliest grammar teacher in the world. Every sentence you read is a perfect, stress-free lesson. You do not have to memorize what a conditional sentence is. You just experience it naturally inside a great story. Over time, incorrect English will simply start to sound wrong to your ears, even if you cannot explain the exact rule. That deep, natural feeling is the ultimate goal of fluency, and it only comes from massive, enjoyable input. Once you realize that this deep, natural feeling of grammar and fluency comes entirely from enjoyable input, we have to ask a very serious, practical question. What exactly should you be putting in front of your eyes? This is exactly where I see so many highly motivated students fail, and it breaks my heart because they make one simple strategic mistake that completely destroys their daily motivation. You might think you need to read classic literature or complex financial news to look smart or to find advanced vocabulary. But I am asking you to throw that idea away right now. The first and most unbreakable rule of this journey is that you must read something you actually care about. If you are passionate about agriculture and farming, read simple articles about that. If you are a technology engineer, read about how machines work. If you love a good mystery, find a simple detective story. If the text is boring, your brain will build a heavy wall and actively resist learning. You will feel tired in 5 minutes. But when you are deeply curious about what happens on the next page, you completely forget that you are reading in a foreign language. Curiosity is the ultimate fuel. It keeps you moving forward without any pain. But even if you find a topic you love, you have to protect yourself from the trap of difficulty. Many of us have a little bit of ego when we study. We think that if we choose a very difficult book, we will somehow learn faster because there are more new words on the page. This is a dangerous illusion. When a text is too hard, your flow is constantly broken. You feel frustrated, and that frustration is the enemy of consistency. If you want this 30-minute habit to change your life, you need to find materials where you already understand about 80 to 90% of the words. If you are just starting, I strongly urge you to look for graded readers. These are brilliant little books written specially for learners, using simple words to tell truly engaging stories. You are not meant to struggle. You are meant to glide easily through the pages. This brings us to the biggest panic moment for every learner. What do you do when you hit a word you do not know? Please listen to me carefully. Put the notebook away. Stop writing every single unknown word down in a long list. I used to do this, and it turned a beautiful reading session into a miserable, stressful job. When you see a new word, try to guess what it means from the sentence. If you must use a dictionary, look at it for 3 seconds and then immediately go back to the story. Do not try to force it into your memory. Trust your brain. If that word is truly important, the author will use it again tomorrow, and your mind will catch it naturally. Speed does not matter here. Only your joy, your peace, and your connection to the story truly matter. Once you protect that joy and find a story that truly connects with you, the final step is engineering a bulletproof system to ensure this happens every single day. I know exactly how exhausting daily life can be, especially when you are working long, demanding shifts in a loud factory environment or managing complicated daily operations. When you finally come home, your brain is completely drained. If you just hope that you will somehow find the free time to read, you will fail. You have to treat this 30-minute habit like a non-negotiable part of your routine. First, you must pick a specific, fixed time. It could be early in the morning, while you drink your coffee in total silence. Or perhaps during a quiet break in the middle of your workday. The exact hour does not matter at all. But doing it at the same time every day changes everything. By tying the habit to a specific moment, you completely remove the need for willpower. Your mind simply accepts that when the coffee is poured, the book opens. Next, you must design your physical space and completely remove all friction. You do not need a grand, expensive library to succeed. A comfortable chair, a quiet corner, or just leaning back on your bed is perfectly fine. However, your reading material must be instantly accessible. If you have to spend 5 minutes digging through your heavy bag to find your book, or if your reading app is hidden behind social media on your phone, you will easily find an excuse to skip it. Leave your book right on your pillow so you physically have to touch it before you go to sleep. Make the act of starting so effortless that it is actually easier to read than to ignore it. Please remember that in language learning, gentle consistency will always defeat sudden intensity. Reading for just 30 minutes every single day creates a massive, undeniable momentum that a stressful 3-hour study session on a Sunday can never match. You are slowly laying down bricks, day by day, building a solid foundation of fluency that will never collapse. As you lay those bricks, I want you to embrace a profound shift in your identity. Stop looking in the mirror and telling yourself that you are a struggling, frustrated English student. Instead, I want you to stand tall and say, I am a reader. I am a person who spends time with English every single day. That tiny shift in how you view yourself changes absolutely everything. This small, daily investment of time will quietly and beautifully glaze your English with confidence, turning a frightening challenge into a natural part of your life. So, I am looking at you right now, and I am issuing a direct challenge. Will you give 30 minutes a day to yourself and your future? If your heart says yes, do not wait for a perfect tomorrow. Start today. Go down into the comments section right now and make a public promise to me. Type the exact words, "I will read for 30 minutes every day." I promise you that I read every single comment, and I will be right there to reply and cheer you on. Let us start this transformation together today. When we step back and look at everything we have shared today, from understanding the quiet engine of your brain to building a daily system, we realize that we are talking about something much bigger than just learning English. The deepest, most profound lesson here is that true, lasting transformation never comes from stress, panic, or rushing. It comes from the quiet, unstoppable power of showing up for yourself every single day. We live in a fast world that constantly tells us we need massive, overnight success. We are taught to sprint until we are completely exhausted. And if we are not exhausted, we feel like we are failing. But real, unbreakable growth is exactly like a strong tree. You cannot pull on the leaves to make it grow faster, and you cannot force the roots to take hold in a single afternoon. You simply have to water it a little bit every day and completely trust the silent, invisible process happening under the soil. You can apply this beautiful, forgiving philosophy to absolutely anything in your current life. Stop waiting for the perfect, magical moment when you will finally have 3 free hours to study, to improve a skill, or to work on yourself. Stop believing that you need to feel completely ready and fearless before you begin a new journey. The truth is, that perfect moment will never arrive. All you have is today. Just carve out 30 small, protected minutes. Build a safe space in your daily routine where you are allowed to make mistakes, where you are allowed to be completely slow, and where you are allowed to just enjoy the journey without any heavy pressure weighing you down. When you let go of the anxiety and just focus on the small daily habit, you will wake up one day and realize you have climbed the entire mountain without even losing your breath. Before we end our time together today, I have a very simple question for you, and I would love for you to share your thoughts so our whole community can learn and find inspiration from each other. What time of day do you think is the absolute best time for you to sit down, relax, and read quietly? Is it early in the morning with a warm cup of coffee, or late at night, right before you go to sleep? Please take a quick moment to drop your answer in the comments below. And if you felt a real connection to this message today, please subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me, and it gives me the incredible motivation to keep researching, creating, and sharing these deep, stress-free videos with you. Thank you for walking this path with me today,